This is Jonathan Aguilar here for Pro Boxing Fans. Delighted to be joined all the way from North Carolina by Mark Fratto, owner of Lineker Media. Mark, thanks very much for joining me over Zoom today. First of all, how you doing?
Jonathan, doing very well. Pleased to connect with you and all of the fight fans over in the UK.
Absolutely. The reason I've got you on, because some of the UK fans might not know exactly who you are and what you do, but I got sent a press release from Kelly Swanson a few days ago about Fight Night Live, which is an amazing concept, which I'll get you to explain. But yeah, I mean, during this current sort of pandemic, the worry, especially in the UK, is that sort of smaller fighters on sort of the smaller shows aren't going to be able to fight for a long, long time. There's a lot of talk that, fights won't happen on smaller shows until next year. There are plans in the UK for sort of the bigger promotional companies to put on some shows.
Yeah,
But
the
yeah,
Eddie Hearn Backyard Series, right?
absolutely. But yeah, in terms of smaller shows, it seems non-existent. But tell us a bit about Lineker Media, Fight Night Live, and what's going to happen with that.
Sure. Lineker Media is our startup out of New York. We're about 6 years old. We're riding out this coronavirus here in North Carolina with family. I have a 2-year-old, so in Manhattan right now, it's a little bit challenging to find activities for him to occupy his days during this time. But things are great in New York right now. Things are opening up in New York, which is great. Just a tough time to be there with a 2-year-old. So we're down here in North Carolina, and it allowed us to plan for some things, now that time has stopped for so many of us that are in live sports. So for the last 3 years, Lineker Media has had a channel on Facebook called Fight Night Live. We've done 48 shows, 9.2 million views, just under 200,000 views per show. And we went through one stretch of 25, our second season. We did 25 shows with almost 300,000 views. So it's been a free series on Facebook. It's been underwritten by Facebook and by Everlast and by Elite Heat Water and Mr. Custom Made, which is a soup company, and a number of others have been kind enough to be able to really make it an affordable. We've done them all over the United States. Our main area of focus has been from Boston, Massachusetts to Washington, D.C., but we've done shows in Texas and California, a couple out of Chicago, a couple out of Florida. We've really made it 21 total cities, from a number of different states. We've worked with 20 different promoters, again, of the regional or the club show ilk. So now what we're trying to do is we understand that unless you're a mega promoter with a big ESPN deal or a big DAZN deal or a Sky Sports deal or a Showtime deal, that media entity is essentially going to take care of your entire show's expenses. It's really tough for promoters that are reliant on ticket sales alone to be able to make any kind of money and to be able to get their fighters into the ring, to be able to get their fighters off the shelf and fighting without some sort of revenue. So we worked with Facebook. They've been a great partner for us, for 3 years, for longer actually, with our relationship with the NBA and its G League, the minor league for the NBA. That's where we first started working with Facebook, and that's where we kind of got this idea from for not necessarily major league boxing shows, but for AAA or AA kind of the regional or club shows to be able to do this. So Facebook is in the alpha. How people say there's alpha testing, and a lot of times you hear like, oh, that's in beta, when it comes to software type releases or technology type launches. So we're still in alpha working with Facebook, but we're going to have a show as early as next weekend. It's going to be a $5 pay-per-view and no crowd. So the promoter is going to rely entirely on the pay-per-view audience on Facebook to drive all of the revenue for the show. That means fighter purses, commissioning fees, insurance, whatever venue charges there are, and the cost of production, the cost for all the camera operators, replay graphics, broadcasters, the handsome ring announcer, which I get to do occasionally. So that's where a lot of we're taking the inside, the in-venue audience and putting it entirely online and giving people a very affordable $5 US dollar ticket price. And of course, Facebook's available all around the world. So you can watch in South America, you can watch in Europe and the UK. you can watch in Asia, and of course you can watch in the United States.
I mean, from your understanding, I've seen reports that Top Rank have been approved to hold a few shows in Las Vegas coming up from the Nevada State Commission, starting
Right.
with Shakur Stevenson. What will be sort of the difference? Obviously, they'll have the backing of ESPN, but what will be sort of the difference? Can you tell us in sort of purses, sort of with you guys going on Facebook with such a big audience compared to sort of a ESPN show?
Well, I think what you're going to find there, I think Top Rank, they have a great ESPN deal. Obviously, they're top flight. They're where every promoter maybe wants to be. We're not a promotional company. We're the television network. So the promoter's going to deal with fight purses and going to really deal with a lot of the expenses and a lot of the risk. But what I've heard from the promoters that we're working with, and we have some contracts in already for this, for fights in June. We're just waiting on commissions to approve some dates and, hopefully get a number of more dates and promoters and contracts in to be able to do these things. What I've heard from the regional promoter who's going to, take on a lot of the risk, right? What if, 3,000 or 4,000 people, become the audience and it's not enough to cover their expenses? What I think they're going to try to do is they're going to work with other regional promoters and work with some of the larger promoters to put some of their fighters on their card. In other words, if I'm Lineker Promotions out of Atlantic City, New Jersey, I'm going to have, two of my fighters fighting, two other fighters, but I'm maybe going to have a 5-fight card where I'm going to ask other promoters to put fighters and fights on the card to help reduce my expenses, mitigate my costs, mitigate my risk. So I think they'll be, again, reduce their costs to try to control their risk as much as possible. And, hopefully the fans will respond, because if you have cards with, the top 2 or 3 fighters from one promotion, and then the top 2 or 3 fighters from another promotion, and they're all on the same card, which doesn't always happen, right? So if you have a quality card, fights 1 through 5, I'm hoping, and we're all hoping, that the fans do respond, that they, plunk down their $5 and that they tune in for quality fights for 3 hours of entertainment.
I mean, it's a great concept because, as I said before, in the UK, a lot of sort of what we've read of regional promoters, like you said, the smaller hall shows are very doubtful until next year. What do you think can be done in the UK to sort of solve this, or would you be willing to even try it in the UK?
Oh, for sure. So I've heard from a promoter in Belgium. I've heard from a promoter in Mexico. I've heard from a promoter in the UK already. And what I would encourage them to do is figure out a show budget and get in touch with us at Lineker Media. We'll take a feed from a promoter's show, and we'll even provide the graphics, the licensed music, the animations, the replay wipe, and some guidance. They can run it through our channel. They'll pay for the production. We'll charge a transmission fee. But instead of doing it on the promoter's page, where they probably don't have the ability with Facebook to do a pay-per-view yet anyway, because it's still in alpha and it's very limited in terms of distribution. So they can go through our page, and then we have 100,000 fight fans that are already following our page based on our 48 show history and all those views. So if you're a European promoter or you're a UK promoter, take a look at what you think you'd be able to do. Talk to your local production companies that do some streaming. Get them in touch with us. We can help them beef up what their production would be. Make sure that it's affordable. We can kind of review prices and stuff like that. Save a little something for Lineker Media to distribute the show. Obviously, account for your fight purses, your insurance, your commission fees, your venue fees, things like that. But yeah, we can go ahead. We can, the more the merrier. Let's do some shows.
What fighters in the US are you working with to get on these cards?
So we've worked with, I think I said 20 different promoters just all across the country. So we'll release the, we put this concept out. You got the press release through Swanson the other day. As we have signed contracts and as we have show dates that are locked in, with commission approval, and obviously, and the commissions and the promoters and us, we're all looking at the health aspect of this as well. So social distancing, limited people, limited humans in the venue, masks for all of us that'll do that. Even our production crew, everybody's wearing headsets so you can sit further apart and wear masks, and a couple different tables across the back of the arena, or however we're going to do that. So as promoters are able to get dates and as commissions are able to verify and work with promoters to provide safe environments for fights and fighters, we'll release those shows date by date as they come out. So people will see that. Hopefully they'll feel the momentum building. They'll want to be involved, and they'll partner up with other promoters to make the costs work.
Are you expecting sort of record number of viewing figures? Obviously, I remember a few weeks ago when there was talk that Marius Vac against Kevin Johnson, I believe, was going to go behind closed doors for a pay-per-view fee. There was a lot of excitement. So are you expecting sort of very good numbers? You're saying, you're getting a lot anyway, but are you expecting sort of bigger than even exceed your usual rate?
Well, I think I think we're trying to be realistic just in terms of advising these promoters. I don't think we want to sell them on, some kind of gassed up projections. We're doing everything for our, for the 48 free shows that we've done and the 3 seasons that we've done. We have a lot of data on what free shows look like, on geographic area where the views come from, on age, on different metrics related to gender, and all the different marketing aspects that promoters and that corporate sponsors are all interested in. I think for this, we're going to approach it cautiously. We're going to deal with facts and real numbers. But I do think that, again, the reach is global. There's 100,000 fans on our page already. A lot of fight fans are out there looking to watch fights and have not been able to do that, once since the pandemic began, right? There was a show out of Nicaragua, and then there was a UFC Fight Pass show. I mean, that's obviously at the major league level, that UFC Fight Pass show, but I think 700,000 buys were recorded for that. So obviously that was that first one, was a huge success. I don't think we're going to get 700,000 buys. I think what we're shooting for is maybe in the 10 to 20,000 buy range to start with. I think realistically. But if you can do that at $5 per buy, I think promoters they'll have access to a real budget to be able to pay their fighters and be able to do shows.
How many shows are you expecting to do per week?
So I'm hoping to do 1 per week. I know we have 2 contracts for June. It's almost June right now. So the first weekend in June, I think we're going to do 1. The last weekend in June, we're going to do 1. I think we're close on a 3rd weekend in June show. And so if you have a 2nd weekend in June, somebody out there, let us know if you can get that date, and if you can get the get things together. Let us know. We'll travel, or if you're overseas, if you're not close to New York or North Carolina or Washington D.C. or any of our locations, we'll help you find a streaming outfit and get it up to and ready to go.
What sort of venues are you going to be hosting these in? You obviously mentioned Eddie Hearn's fight camp in the Garden, but we'll get onto that. But what are the venues that are being considered? Is it just studios or arenas?
So, I think the ideal venue would be the type of venue where you can create kind of a bubble type of situation. So I would imagine that fighters and corners are going to be tested before they arrive on site for coronavirus. I would expect the same of our production crew, and anybody that's going to be in the room is going to get a test, a week out or so. And then on the weigh-in day, I'd imagine there's going to be some testing there as well. Whether it's the antibody test or diagnostic test or, whatever, just to make sure that there are no active coronavirus cases in the room. And then, when our crew would arrive on the morning of the fight, the day after the weigh-in, to set up the cameras and stuff like that, we'll be in masks. We'll have clean tests. We'll have, temperature checks and things like that to be able to do. So what I would like to see, and this is going to be up to commissions and up to the promoters, not really up to the streaming or television packager. But I'd like to see, maybe a casino that's not getting a lot of use right now, a hotel ballroom that's not getting a lot of use right now. So if everybody arrives, let's say on Friday morning, you have your piece of paper that says that you have a negative test from a week before or a couple days before, you get tested on that weigh-in day, then you're there, you're not leaving. You're in your room, you're kind of maintaining social distancing, and you're kind of keeping that Friday test result valid until the moment you step into the ring on Saturday. And if the other participants are also keeping that negative test valid as well, then it should be a pretty safe environment, you would think.
What is the call on sort of allowing media attendees in attendance?
I mean, I would, again, I think that's going to be more up to the promotion, but from our aspect as the streaming packager, again, I'd like to have our crew, every single person that's going to come in on that Saturday, let's say fight day, fight night, everybody should have a negative test from earlier that week. And then you come in and you get temperature tested as you're walking in, unless the commission is going to have people there to give another coronavirus test. I'm not sure how that's going to go, because I'd imagine that a lot of the testing is going to be done at weigh-in, and then everybody's going to stay in that enclosed environment, for the 24 hours and then leave the day after the fight. So if media were to come and cover, I would think that they'd have to have a negative test early in the week. They'd be subject to a temperature check, and they'd have to come in with documentation that I'm pretending I'm holding the piece of paper with the negative test on. They'd have to, present that as they enter the venue on fight day, be subject to a temperature check on fight day. And I think, that's just a way to, try to, again, keep that negative test environment valid, since everybody will have been tested within a few days before or a week before or whatever, and then temperature checked on the morning of the fight. And then everybody else would be tested on the weigh-in and just be in that bubble environment until they left.
As I understand it, you've done a bit of work with Roy Jones Promotions and Salita Promotions. Talk to me a bit about that.
Yeah, there's been a number of promoters that we've worked with in the Fight Night Live series. About 20, and they've all, a number of them. Obviously we've done 48 shows and worked with 20 promoters. A lot of them have had us, in multiple times. So hopefully that's been a very mutually beneficial relationship for all the different promoters we've worked with. I'm a professional announcer. I announce for the Washington Wizards of the NBA, New York City Football Club, which I'm not sure how your soccer fandom falls, but that's Manchester City's New York affiliate. Is that in line with how you cheer?
Yeah,
or is that
right. Yeah. I know they're
okay?
Owned by the same company, or yeah.
Yeah, City Football Group. Yeah, we all report up to to that entity. So, and then I've been the ring announcer to the Michael Buffer type, for a number of different boxing and MMA promotions as well. So, I've been very, very fortunate to work with a number of them. Roy Jones Jr. has brought us to Vegas, brought us to Texas, brought us to California. Golden Boy and Triple G has brought us into Madison Square Garden, which is, in my hometown, which is a great, the absolute ultimate if you're a fight sports announcer, to stand in the center of the ring at Madison Square Garden and, be able to do your thing. So I've been very, very fortunate to have great experiences with a number of different promoters. And in doing this Fight Night Live pay-per-view venture, and it's kind of a way that we can help fighters and promoters and show our gratitude, show our appreciation for the opportunities we've been given over the past 5 years in boxing, over the past 3 years with Fight Night Live.
We've obviously seen Eddie Hearn release sort of a plan for his boxing return. Talk of sort of July. What have you made of sort of this Matchroom fight camp, which is taking place not in his actual garden, but the garden of the Matchroom headquarters?
Well, I was gonna, as a Manhattan resident, I'm very jealous of his backyard. That's the first thing. But I think I haven't read too many details on it, but I'd imagine that, again, it's to kind of create sort of a bubble to keep tests valid and to keep the environment as safe as possible and to carry on with the event with public health being paramount. And that's very, very important moving forward. You can't do this and then have, 8 or 9 or 15 people come out of these environments, positive in the next couple of weeks. You just, that would be a non-starter. That would end this very quickly. So I think all professional sporting promoters, team owners, league management, everybody's taking that into account. And you've seen, you've seen it with the Premier League, you've seen it with the Bundesliga, you've seen it with the Korean baseball, you've seen it with with the NBA's plans, you've seen it with what MLS is trying to do. That's our soccer league in the United States. You've seen it with what colleges and universities are considering, what their falls are going to look like, both athletics and just what it's going to be like on campus. So, the public health aspect is the most important here. And if there's a way to move forward safely, and there's a way to, again, get fighters fighting and get promoters promoting, this may be a way. This may be a safe way, a safe path forward that's also financially responsible.
Definitely a great concept, especially, during this time where no crowds, people are just desperate to see some live sport.
Yeah, and I'm hoping that they turn out on Facebook. Facebook, one of the benefits is there's already 4 billion people in the world using Facebook. There's already 100,000 people on our page. You don't need to download a different app. You don't need to try to type in different information or try to swipe your credit card or, move the camera to try to, take the photo of your credit card. It's all in your phone, whether you know it or not, or like it or not, it's all right there. So you just have to kind of put your thumb on the infrared sensor or use your index finger or whatever. $5 are gone, but you get, 3 hours of entertainment.
Mm. And you said, obviously, from a UK perspective, you'd be open to working with small hall promoters. So what sort of have you held any positive talks that you can reveal to us?
We've gotten a lot of interest from a lot of different places, and we know that UK fight fans, we know from our prior Fight Night Live shows, we pulled great audiences from the UK, from Ireland, from Scotland, from Great Britain. We pulled great audiences from Mexico, from South America. It's a global, with Facebook being a global platform, it really gives a lot of people a chance to tune in. And if you've been missing fights, what language the graphics are in or what language the commentators are speaking, that's a secondary thing. You just want to see some great action. So here's an exclusive for you. Our first show is going to be a Spanish language show next weekend. That's what we're looking at right now.
And that's going to be
if things change, I'll email you. But that's going to be our first one. So that'll be a different experience, right?
Yeah.
For US fight fans, maybe for UK fight fans. If you tune in, maybe you've never seen, maybe you've never been to a live fight, so it's a new experience. But you'll see great matchups. You'll see great fighters, battle-tested fighters that have been sitting on the shelf for 11 weeks now, and are gonna be ready to go.
So first show next week, sort of, I guess, coincides with that top rank card in Las Vegas, or just before, I believe. But so next week, and where's that going to take place?
I think, it's going to take place on Facebook. That's all I'll give right now. But I think it's going to be a Spanish language broadcast. So I'm excited that that's going to be our first one, and we're going to see how that goes. But it's going to be before Top Rank's dates. That's what the expectation is right now. Before Top Rank has, I think they're scheduled maybe for the 9th and the 11th of June. This one will be in the first week of June.
All right, great stuff, Mark. Thanks very much for coming on.
Yeah, and I can't wait. I'm not trying to be deceptive or sly or anything like that. I can't wait to send that press release out as soon as all the T's are crossed and I's are dotted.
No, I look forward to it, and it's great to hear that guys like yourselves are working hard to make sure that the fight fans are benefiting even during this period, and we're going to see live action as early as next week. So great stuff. Can't wait to see how it unfolds for you.
Yes, sir. Well, I appreciate you taking interest and appreciate you having me. And you're going to be stuck on that email list for press releases for a long, long time now. So, you'll get all the action as it breaks.
Brilliant. Just lastly, just tell the viewers how to follow you and your company. And it's Fight Night Live on Facebook, isn't it?
Yeah, sure. If you go into the search bar on Facebook and you type in Fight Night, one word, space live, you'll find us. We got kind of a dark blue purple logo. It's got 100,000 followers. So hopefully that comes up, pretty high in the search rankings. If you're just looking to punch it into your browser, if you're at your desktop or your laptop, it's, www.facebook.com/face Fight Night Live, FACEFIGHTNIGHTLIVE. We're also on Twitter. We're on Instagram. My company, Lineker Media, is on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook as well. And then if you want to follow just my exploits mixed with family photos and photos of the 2-year-old, hanging out here in North Carolina, waiting to go back to New York. I'm at Mark Fratto on Instagram, so you can come and follow me there. And if you want to see baby pictures mixed in with the work stuff as well.
Why not? Well, Mark, thanks very much for coming on. Appreciate your time, and look forward to watching next week's fights, and hopefully we might see some action from you guys in the UK.
Yeah, well, that'll be thanks to you, helping us to get the word out. So I really appreciate your time and again, your interest in this. And hopefully it's going to benefit everybody that's involved in boxing, from the fighters to the promoters to the media companies to, to the fans. Hopefully there's something in it for everybody. Something everybody's got to give a little bit, but everybody hopefully is going to get a lot out of this.
Definitely. Mark, thanks very much. And we'll catch up soon, definitely.
Yeah, you got it. Enjoy.